I know you are. Thank you. I thought you'd like that one too. Hi. How nice to see you all on this somewhat dreary, rainy, cold, wrecking day. Oh, yes? Oh. Oh, there we go. Love you. Love it. It'll all come together, yes?
All love, right?
Yes, indeed. Today was, thank you, was something, we're given a packet to work from. And today in this packet, we were encouraged to talk about transformation, but we were also told a number of interesting things. And today is Harriet Tubman Day. How many of you have seen the movie Harriet? I strongly recommend it. It's on Netflix. It's very accurate. It's not exactly right because we don't know, but it's very accurate. So if you want to have a sense of this woman, she's a little girl, she grows up as a slave, she sees terrible things happening to her and to other people around her, and she gets away. And she finds a way all by herself as a young adolescent woman. She finds her way into Pennsylvania. And she finds a way to be a free woman in Pennsylvania. And she realizes she can't do that by herself. The woman made 13 trips back into the south of the Mason-Dixon line and brought people back into the free state of Pennsylvania. That some people say she brought 300. Her description is 70 people. Excuse me. I was explained to the group yesterday, I managed to spend 2 weeks living in a space where the sheetrock dust was being recirculated.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so I'm still clearing it out. So as we think about this, the first thought I had when I was coming up here was something I wasn't even going to mention, and that is that my mother's family lives in Cumberland, Maryland, or lived, and they were part of the Underground Railroad.
Oh, wow.
And I got to be in the house. I would have inherited it if things had been just one little glitch different. But this wonderful big old pre-revolutionary inn on a bluff above the town of Cumberland. And it's got all these rooms and all these tunnels and all these storage areas. And my family helped a whole lot of people get out of that area south of the Mason-Dixon, and that felt really good. And I have my mother's grandfather's rocker from on the porch, and I can just see him sitting there saying, nope, nobody here. Nope. So Harriet Tubman's goal was to live free. What does that mean? You know, when you're a young adolescent woman that's always had everything controlled, including death and life, at any given moment, you never know. It's always someone out there who decides that. Freedom simply means to be able to choose at all. To be able to choose what you're wearing, what you're eating, whether you're going to get up in the morning, what you're going to do, etc., right? And a lot of us in that age range are pining for freedom because we're under parental and school and other authority that has been telling us what to do, when to do it, and so on. And we're going, I can hardly wait till I grow up and I'm free. Right? Well, are we?
No.
No. We just substituted one thing for another in most cases. So what is necessary to be free? And what is freedom really? You know, if we're really going to address this question, we kind of have to go inside and find what is that state of being that feels totally free. And it doesn't seem to have anything to do with what's going on out there, right? It's in here. And it's in here because that is who we are. We are these totally free beings with an incredible capacity for beingness. You can say that we are spirit living a human experience. You can say that the essence, the core essence of every being is totally in charge of the life we are living right now. You can say any number of things depending on the perspective you're using. But the freedom is not about what's out there. The freedom is about what's going on in here. And what many of us did when we transitioned from adolescence to adulthood is we brought all the 5 toxic words, should, ought, gotta, musta, have to, with us. And we limited ourselves. We reduced our own freedom. There's a concept, I'm realizing I brought my notes and then didn't open them. There's a concept in the field that I hold a few degrees in called systems thinking and systems methods and all of that, called degrees of freedom. I can have a few degrees of freedom, I can have many degrees of freedom. The many degrees of freedom are basically, I could choose over here, 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 or I could choose from this narrow little window that's based on my shoulds and oughts and gottas and hafters and musts. Because in truth, the next moment from this moment is infinite possibilities. And what I'm going to choose is a function of what I brought to this moment. And it can be a very narrow range of options, or it can be a very wide range of options. My goodness. Well, today, this little packet that we got in the mail, or in the emails, thank you, Judy, for sending them, says that it's also the day tonight when Ramadan starts in Islam. Now, Ramadan existed before Muhammad was born, blessed be his name. Ramadan was part of the Arabic culture in the Roman Empire. Ramadan is the time, it is the first lunar month. It's actually the 9th lunar month in a 12 lunar month year. But it's the one of setting the tone for the rest of the next 12 months. And what this wonderful camel driver married to a very rich camel owner, woman, was doing was every day going to a cave and spending the day in the cave. He wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking, he was connecting with the divine long before Islam was ever even an idea. And that's something we need to be aware of. Many of the traditions that we have seen in the religions of the world are traditions that long pre-existed for thousands of years, the actual events that we see today. And this is one of them. So every year, for a month, we go into a fasting, meditative space. In the Arabic countries, the lunar 9th month is that time basically when it's raining and you can't do anything else. And so what a great time to go inside and really connect with the powers that be, whatever those are. Now, this remarkable man lived outside a town called Mecca. And Mecca had a very, very famous, very sacred well. And people would come to the well to connect with their divinity, whatever the divinity was. And so there was this tent kind of built over the well, and there were 300 different deities housed in this tent. And it was a great source of income for the people of Mecca to have all these people come to worship their particular deity in this tent at this sacred well. Well, Muhammad wasn't buying into that. He wasn't buying into the notion of those statues having any power at all. And he wasn't sure that having a whole town depend for its livelihood on people coming to worship these little statues was all that cool. So it wasn't too much of a surprise to him, although he was totally flabbergasted and terrified, when on one of those days in the month of Ramadan, when he was in the cave, this light lit up the cave, and this voice said, "I am the messenger of God, recite." I'm being Bill Cosby right now. Right. And he heard that, and he disregarded it. And he went back into his quiet. And guess what? It happened again. And he said, "I can't read, I can't write. What do you mean recite?" And he was given a bunch of verses. They're called sirahs, S-Y-R-A-H, on that day about the nature of the one power and the one presence that is everywhere and is all that is and is always providing and supporting everyone. And in Arabic, the name of that one power and presence is Allah. In English, we call it God, we call it Lord, we call it Spirit. Doesn't matter what we call it. It is that beingness. That is what Unitarianism is. Isn't that interesting? So he went home and he said, to his wife, who could read and write. And she wrote down everything he said. And she said, go back, go more, get more. So for the remainder of the lunar month, which is 28 or 29 days, this man went back into the cave and received more sirahs and took them home, and his wife wrote them down, and the whole family's looking at them going, really? I don't know about this. But they started to feel that power and that presence and that love and that light and that possibility. And so they started saying, okay, we'll build our lives on this, and we'll let you, because you received this, you are now the prophet. And we'll let you be the prophet who is guiding us. And so he shifted from being the camel driver to being the leader of a spiritual movement. Well, the merchants did not like the idea of replacing 300 deities that people were coming from all over the world to come worship with one non-substantial entity that didn't have any statues, because that's part of the rule. You do not create an icon, because then you're going to worship the icon instead of the isness, right? And that's why Arabic art, Muslim art, doesn't have any images of any beings. You never see a picture of Muhammad. You'll never see a picture of any being in Islamic art. It's against the nature of the beingness that is guiding all of us. So tonight begins the fast, which means they're going to feast, just like, well, in the Christian tradition. Tuesday night before Ash Wednesday, Fat Tuesday, we're going to feast. We're going to eat up all the goodies, right? And the fast in the Lenten tradition, we're right in the middle of. This is the mid-Sunday of the Lenten tradition that started, I really felt badly for them, February 14th. Valentine's Day is the day we're going to fast. And most people are giving up chocolate. The fast in the Lenten idea has shifted and changed over the years. Some years, for centuries it was 40 days. For a few centuries it was 60 days. It's always been, though, this time prior to the spring equinox, because the spring equinox is when the whole Paschal feast in the Jewish tradition begins to happen. So if you've ever wondered why Easter is never on the same Sunday 2 years in a row, it's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox, right? And then the next full moon is going to be when Passover starts. So they're usually kind of close together. This year they're not. Easter's March 31, and I think Passover starts April 10. Yeah, a month from now. So it's, they're related, but it's because in the Christian tradition, the Last Supper is the supper of Passover. And some of the words that are in the Eucharistic language that go for doing the communion are straight out of the Passover Haggadah. It's fascinating to me that we see these overlappings, right? So in the Christian tradition, what they were dealing with was northern climates, right? And in the northern climates, this time of year, there isn't much food around, right? There is very little, especially if you got ice, right? So the fish are under the ice, the mammals are all sleeping, the birds have gone away, there's nothing growing, there's nothing you can plant, there's nothing you can weed. What are we going to do? We're going to go inside and we're going to meditate and we're going to not eat because we got to spread that food out as far as we can. So this period of time in temperate climates, in places where there is winter, has long been a time of fasting and going inside. And so the Catholic Church adopts and adapts, according to St. Augustine, that's what he told them, and they adopted and adapted that fast. And we call it Lent. So we're in the middle of Lent, we're at the beginning of Ramadan, and we're celebrating Harriet Tubman going for freedom. And I'm going to tell you it's all the same thing. For us to understand what it means to be free, we have to go inside and find that freedom. If we're living that corporate, I'm going to get up in the morning, go do the work, go to work, go to work, go to work, and I'm going to have, I'm going to have a caramel latte in the morning, and good, a Caesar salad with salmon and all that good stuff, right? And maybe some wonderful something else for dinner. While I'm doing this, get up in the morning, work and take care of the family and take care of everything and get everything done, I'm not taking much time to be free. I'm not giving myself a chance to be free. So Ramadan and Lent exist so that individuals can stop, connect with that freedom inside them, and then connect a little bit with some folks around them. In the Ramadan tradition, you're not fasting 24/7, you're fasting about 13 hours, from about sunrise to about sunset. And literally, they're to the minute. This first, I think it starts at 5:37 tomorrow morning. Okay, you can eat until 5:37, and then you have to stop at 6:36. Until 6:36 p.m. So from 5:37 in the morning till 6:36 p.m., you don't get to eat. And then you get to feast with your family and friends. Now what's really cool, in terms of parallels, is that the Easter Lenten period ends with Easter, the feast day. And in Ramadan, the Ramadan fast ends with Eid, the feast day. El Eid, which is an opportunity to share in the larger world the gratitude and wonders that we have accumulated over the last year. So I've seen pictures. I wasn't actually there. I was there in October and Ramadan was over. I got to be there for Yom Kippur in Egypt. That was interesting. But on Eid in Cairo, for many years, people would just take their tables out onto the street and line the streets with tables and chairs and start bringing food out, and anyone who came and sat down was welcome. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I really like that. That's a feast. And so to include everybody is part of what Islam was about. Yeah. And in some ways, that's what Christianity is about also. When it said, go out and preach the gospel, one version of it, it's go out and share the good news of all the good that is here. Isn't it wonderful? That's what was actually being said in the Aramaic. Go out and share. Go out and share this goodness that is happening. That's what the feasts were originally designed to be in the Christian tradition. So you can begin to see there are enough parallels, and if you've read the Quran, and I heartily recommend, take it a little bit at a time, but spend some time with the Quran, because there's lots of stories about people from the Old Testament and the New Testament in the Quran. People of the book are sharing the same tradition, that which is laid out in Torah and Talmud. We all share that tradition. That notion that, hear, O Israel, hear, children of the one that is, I am. Beingness is all that is. The essence of being, the isness. In fact, the 4 letters that make up the name that is unspeakable in the Jewish tradition, Yod, He, Vov, He, basically come down to isness. That's why it's translated as I am that I am in some Bibles. Isness. And in isness, in my core being, my isness, I'm always totally free, regardless of what's going on around me, regardless of what people are doing and saying. I am free. And that's where Harriet Tubman began to get in her adult years. She realized that the freedom was not out there. But she learned something in the process that we've touched on twice this morning. And it makes me wish I'd actually put the slide together I was thinking about putting together. And that is, we begin to feel the freedom when we have allowed the old structures to fall away. Transformation and freedom are the same thing. We have to let go of those limiting beliefs that have kept me on this channel, even though I've got this infinite range of possibilities. I need to allow those to fall away. I need to allow those structures that I thought were the only thing that I could survive with to dissolve around me in order to be free. And every moment is that dissolution and that resolution of being who and what we truly are in every circumstance. Every circumstance. All right, I'm hearing the thoughts already. So I, for a while, was requested, whatever. It was part of my job to show up in a nursing home once a month on a Sunday afternoon. And this was one of those warehouses, nursing homes, not one of these help you get better nursing homes. And so these people would be wheeled into the room where I was set up, and they would be pretty thoroughly drugged. They'd be very limited in their physical expression. And I was supposed to deliver a Sunday program. Well, obviously I did not talk to them the way I talk with you. I had a couple of songs, and I started to tell a story each time. And it was mostly different people each time, not always. About how it is that when someone who understands the nature of all that is is unable to move their body, they can still make a difference in the world. And I told this story of a man that I knew in Corvallis. He was a retired physicist. And the woman who owned the home I was renting a room in, and he were lovers. And he had been in a couple of accidents and he wasn't functioning. And every day she would go to his house after she was working at school, and after school she would work and go over to his home. And she would sit with him and she'd say, "How was your day today?" Now, he hadn't moved since she'd set him up on her way to school in the morning, right? And he'd say, "Oh, it was wonderful. I felt the light flowing through me to everyone I could think of." Yeah. There was a time in my life where I was flat on my back for a few weeks and months, and I learned that lesson. When you can't do anything else, you can always let that light flow through you to anyone else, everyone else, everywhere. We are free. We are constantly supporting and being supported by this universe. That's who and what we are. The isness of all that is. Thank you very much. I remembered to meditate. You up for going inside and finding that freedom? Wow. All right, so we're going to take a nice, long, slow, deep breath and relax in the body here and now. Yeah. Totally supported, totally supplied. Being this body in this room. Just being. And breathing. Let's feel the breath moving in and through the body. And with that breath, let's be aware that the quantum field, the isness of all that is, the spirit that is everywhere, is moving into the body with every breath. Lightening the body, filling the body with life energy, prana, chi. We feel that light, that life, as it moves into the body, and as we exhale, we can feel it moving through the body. That life, that light, touching every cell, every organ, every tissue, restoring harmony in the body with every breath. And as we feel that light moving in and through the body, we become aware that it is surrounding us as well. It moves around us. And it's filling this beautiful space we're in. This room is filled with the light and the life and the peace and the joy that is the core of us. And as we're aware of it, we realize that this light, this love is expanding through us out into the world beyond. That all that we are, individually and collectively, is touching the hearts and souls of all the people in this community. Up and down the coast, and across the ocean and the mountains. And we are connected to all those beings always, as we are being reminded by that sound.
the connection is constant. That light, that love, that wonderful wisdom that is all that is, moves through us and out into the world and touches everyone and flows back into us with every breath. And all of us are free in the one, individually and collectively. For so it truly is. And so we take another breath, a cleansing breath that says, yes, I am here, I am this free being, present here and now. And I am part of this community, this congregation, this room at this time. And I give thanks that it is so. So it is. Thank you.
So it is.